Sunday, and we are this Sunday just doing a pre-recorded video. You're going to see my sermon, but you'll also see some worship time we did at my dad's house. And we're looking forward to, in a few weeks, getting back to doing an in-person service at the end of the month for Palm Sunday. But the reason I'm making this video isn't about that at all. It's because there is something in this text that we're going to study Sunday that it just doesn't fit into a sermon, but it's something that maybe if you're kind of like me, a little bit of a Bible nerd, and you're interested in New Testament chronology, the life of Jesus, it's not really something I can preach on because it's so kind of technical, but it is to me interesting, and I'm hoping maybe a few of you will find it that way as well. But here is what I was getting at is in John chapter 5, which we're studying as a church through the life of Christ chronologically. In John chapter 5, there is this place where it says that Jesus now goes to a festival of the Jews, or a Judean feast. And it doesn't tell us which one it is. And there's debate about which one it is. And what I would like to encourage you is to consider that it likely, I believe it is, but it very well might be Shavuot or Pentecost. And there's three reasons that I want to share with you in this video why I believe that it is Shavuot or Pentecost, and maybe that'll be interesting to you, and you'll see how it does play into a little bit into the sermon we're going to go over on Sunday. So here's what it is that the first thing is when John the Apostle writes his gospel, one of his apparent goals is to fill in gaps. Remember, his gospel came last in publishing or release date, so to speak. And so Matthew, Mark, and Luke were already out. And they all had this agenda to focus the story really about Jesus' intense ministry towards the cross. But John comes along later and is like, well, so much got skipped for legitimate reason, but hey, I'm here, and it's one of the last books of the Bible. And so I'm going to go ahead and reveal to them a lot of the stuff that it doesn't get talked about, that first year of Christ's ministry, really, and a few other things. Well, if that's the case, it's weird to me that he would skip almost an entire year. Because John, that's also not covered by the other gospel writers. John, he gives us a point of reference with time, which is Passover. Okay, the Jewish holiday that takes place at Easter time. But you and I are familiar with it that way. And Passover, the first one of Jesus's ministry, is when he speaks to Nicodemus. That's actually like the night after or the night of. And just before it is when he cleanses the temple. Okay, John chapter 3. That's Passover, the first Passover since Jesus's baptism. And then, right, the next story is John 3, those things happen. John 4, he's down by the River Jordan baptizing people, not him, but his disciples. Then he hears about John the Baptist being in Samaria doing ministry, and Jesus runs up there, meets the woman at the well, and then from there, he travels back to Cana, heals this official's son as he's going there. And then after that, pretty much, he then comes back down for another festival. So it's really fast between these two feasts, this Passover, or what Scripture just calls a Judean feast. So if it's Passover, which a lot of people encourages that it might be Passover, well, then he skips almost a solid year of information from John 4-ish to John 5. And that year is not covered by the other gospel writers. So it seems unlikely to me that that's what he's doing. It's possible, but it seems unlikely. The other thing is that John does mention 3 Passovers by name. He names them the Passover and gives us this great time frame of Jesus' ministry. But many people try to make this Jewish festival a 4th Passover. And that's challenging to me because why would he call 3 of them Passovers and one of them just a Judean feast? It doesn't follow to me. And the last reason that I think of this is because if it's Pentecost or Shavuot, as the Jewish people call it, if it's that, its original, we always think of Pentecost as like the birthday of the church and the time that tongues came and the tongues of fire and all this Pentecostal stuff, which is really important, good stuff. But the Jewish observance of Passover, or Pentecost, is when God gives the law to Moses. And so there's some really interesting passages, and when Jesus gives his, I'm going to call it a sermon in the public place, he preaches and he seems to reference these very important to Pentecost, important to the law being given to Moses stories. There's what story, and these themes play into it. And so even if I am wrong about it being Pentecost, you can't deny is that the themes of Pentecost impact what Jesus is going to say in the story. And so what we're going to do Sunday, day after tomorrow, is we're going to look at the passage that was often read during Pentecost, and we are going to see how Jesus would have approached this passage. We know already that he loved the passage. It's is Deuteronomy chapter 5 through 11. We're going to kind of cherry pick through that. And he quotes from that text when he faces Satan in the wilderness. So we know for sure that it was something that he valued. So either way, it's worth thinking about as we examine this text and what Jesus is going to say. But I really believe that it's highly likely that we're talking about Pentecost, not another Passover or anything else. And what's interesting about that is that gives us a time frame, because Pentecost is always 50 days after Passover, always, to this day, every year. So that means that between Jesus cleansing the temple in John 3, and in John 5, when he heals the lame man by the pools of Bethesda and has this controversy afterwards, is 50 days. So a little over a month, Jesus baptizes, goes to Samaria, does his ministry there, goes up to Cana, heals this official son, and then returns back down for the next feast. It gives us a really interesting time frame for these stories to occur. It places the drama of it really close together, because Jesus only recently cleansed the temple. They're still mad at him for doing that. And now he's going to come in there and heal somebody and declare, well, that essentially that Moses is writing about him. So it's a really controversial thing, really powerful thing. I want you to tune in Sunday and see it at 10 a.m. Praying for you guys. Hope to see you soon. God bless.